Hi, good morning, everyone, for joining in for Tyron's third webinar in the AI series, which is on a very interesting subject of natural language processing, popularly known as NLP. Today, we'll share with you information about latest GPU systems tuned for NLP and how these new GPU systems have taken a performance leap over predecessor GPU systems designs and architectures. Introducing myself, I'm Hriday Vikram, Director Strategic Business Development with Tyron Systems, co-presenter and host for today's session. I have with me Ram, who is a solution architect from Tyron Innovation Labs. Before we start, would like to share with you that we won't be able to take questions through voice chat. Please leave your questions in the Q&A section. There will be a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So our agenda for the session today covers number one, Tyron's new GPU systems for NLP, which further talks about our new range of GPU A100 based systems, our Tyron Qubits Cloud Access platform, and agenda point 2 to 6, which cover introduction to NLP concepts, NLP pre-processing steps, NLP vectorization methods, generative unsupervised methods in NLP, and case studies will be covered by Ram. Moving on towards our first agenda point, but before that, for our new member audience, we'll have a very quick glance for about NetWeb Technologies, Tyron Systems. NetWeb is the largest HPC AI GPU systems provider in 4 countries, namely India, Singapore, Indonesia, Vietnam. And we are also present in Middle East Asia as well. With a huge customer base of 7,000 plus customers worldwide, we are the only organization who have crossed mark of 400 HPC supercomputing installations in India. We have deployed 7,000 plus GPU systems as yet. We have successfully provided on-prem cloud solutions to 3 Fortune 500 companies as yet. We are the providers of India's fastest hybrid supercomputers applied to ISRO and CDAC respectively. And last but not the least, we have enabled 100 plus organizations with our AI GPU solutions. These organizations include some of India's best research organizations too. Moving forward to share new GPU systems designs and architectures launched by Tyron for NLP now. The most important change in architecture is introducing Tyron HGX NVIDIA A100 GPU based systems, which means increment in performance with A100 or Ampere architecture, which is also called Ampere architecture, can be understood by the values shown on the screen here. You can see 2 times increase in GPU interconnect bandwidth, that is from 300 Gbps to 600 Gbps. Memory jump to 40 GB from 32 GB per GPU. Increase in memory bandwidth from 900 Gbps to 1,555 Gbps. And ultimately, the AI performance jump by 20 times, as you can see on your screen. These parameters will also be explained with subsequent slides. Interestingly, for all of us who have followed the latest advancement in natural language processing field, you will know that transformer models are the latest craze actually. These language models are currently the state of the art for many tasks, including article completion, question answering, and dialogue systems. The 2 famous transformers that come to mind are BERT and GPT-2, which have demonstrated such architectures for very long. But pushing the limits by Tesla V100 first, and now with Tesla A100, models like Megatron LM become the largest transformer model, delivering multi-fold performance compared to BERT and GPT-2. And such transformer models, specifically for these kind of models, Tyron has introduced NLP-oriented 3 new systems based on A100 GPUs. These systems cover, number 1, system with 4 number of A100 NVLink based system, which is shown on your screen on the left. Number 2, 8 number of A100 PCI Express based GPU based system. And number 3, 8 number of A100 NVLink GPU based system, which is shown on the extreme right. And alongside these three systems, we also offer DGX A100 as well. Technical specifications of these four systems will also be shared in detail subsequently. The features which make these systems more powerful, especially for NLP and the other related user scenarios, include 54 billion XTORs, third gen tensor cores, sparsity acceleration, multi-instance GPU, and third gen NVLink. Instead of just going through these features, now we can move for a quick comparison. We share this information with you in the form of a tabled information, as you can see on your screen, wherein we have tried to compare Tesla V100 based 8 GPU system versus Tesla A100 based 8 GPU system. Some of the most important values to check out are increase in CUDA cores per GPU. Second is mixed precision performance of 5 petaflops versus 1 petaflop in case of A100 based system, which is specifically required for NLP for the jump in the performance. Third important point is multi-instance GPU support, as you can see on your screen as well. These values, other than the figures shared earlier, confirms huge performance jump with Tesla A100 based systems compared to Volta V100 based systems, specifically in case of NLP user scenario. Out of these, one aspect that carries functional importance as well is about multi-instance GPU support. As you can see on your screen, multi-instance GPU support is discussed in the previous slide as well, but we are going to explain with more detailed information here. Each GPU A100 can be chopped off in terms of 7 GPU instances. This is the literal meaning of having GPU instances, multiple GPU instances support with A100 based platforms. And these instances can be of any size in terms of GPU memory and compute cores. So it means with your multi-user environment, A100 GPU based systems can offer highest flexibility, which was absent earlier. Now, all these features, performance related changes in architecture make DGX A100 and Tyron HGX A100 systems a universal choice or universal solution box for analytics, training, and inference, which is of the utmost importance in case of NLP platform. Thus, users can reduce their data center footprint and increase their return on investment by using Tyron HGX platform, A100 platform, and DGX A100 as well. At the last leg of agenda point 1, we'll have a quick look at all 4 system options we have shared with you for our users to consider for NLP projects. Option number 1 is DGX A100. With DGX A100, we are offering 8 NVLink A100 based GPUs available with the system, which offers 5 petaflops of AI mixed workload performance and with huge 82,944 CUDA cores on offer. With these features, it becomes an obvious choice to be selected for NLP based user scenarios. Option 2 we can provide you is Tyron HGX A100 with 4 number of NVLink based A100 GPUs. Option 3 is that Tyron HGX A100 with 8 number of PCI Express based A100 GPU server. And option 4, which is soon to be launched by us, is an exact configuration as DGX A100, which has 8 number of NVLink A100 based GPUs. Other than these 4 options, for end user development for NLP, our personal AI supercomputer with built-in deep learning and ML middleware stack can also be considered. Since not all the users would prefer to go for a very high-end GPU system, for those users specifically targeting the development work, AI supercomputer system or offering from Tyron can be easily be considered. All these options, whether it is heavy GPU system with 4 multi-GPUs or 8 GPUs or single GPU by means of AI supercomputer, AI super workstation, all these options are available with Tyron Qubits Cloud Access, which allows our users to have an access to 50 plus containerized applications, CUDA software development environment, plus runtime OS executables and libraries for NVIDIA GPUs. This all is available by means of hundreds of containers available on Tyron Qubits Cloud, which means deep learning developers can now run their GPU accelerated model for development or for training or for inference from anywhere they want. And users don't have to worry about rapidly evolving state of deep learning tools, because Tyron Cloud upgrades or Tyron Qubits Cloud upgrade, it is upgrading consistently and recertifying our container images on a regular schedule. So this was all about the agenda point 1 of this session. For rest of the agenda points, I request Ram to take it forward from here.
Thank you, Hriday. Let me share the screen.
Yeah.
Today, as a part of the NLP agenda, we are going to look into some of the basic overviews of the NLP, followed by the pre-processing steps, which is the core of an NLP process, and then how to convert them into vectors so that the machine learning models can understand these text-based data, followed by generative and unsupervised methods in NLP like topic modeling, and followed by we will see a case studies using topic modeling and also a case study on sentiment analysis. So what is an NLP? So NLP is an important branch in data science. So it is systematic analysis of the data, that is the unstructured data, which is a text data that is generated from various sources. Nowadays, we can see there are a lot of unstructured data that is coming from various sources such as social media, chatbots, etc. So these are all natural languages. To process them, we need to have a systematic process to break them down into a smaller chunks and then converting them into a vectors. The entire process has been defined as an NLP process. Now this involves certain analysis like lexical analysis, like how a paragraph is being broken down into simple sentences. From the sentences, it has been further broken down into the words. And this is followed by syntactic analysis. So how the words are interrelated to each other, so that we have to discover. And semantic analysis. So this involves extracting the meaning of each of these words in the paragraph. And this also involves pragmatic analysis and discourse integration. For example, a sequence of data, sequence of words means something. We need to break down the sequence and understand this pattern. So this is also coupled with domain knowledge. So we should be having some domain knowledge of what kind of text data we are trying to analyze. So all these systematic process have been brought into the NLP, and this coupled with machine learning model has n number of applications. So there are a lot of raw data sources like web pages, feedbacks, social media, product description, movie reviews, etc. So nowadays, you can see that unstructured data has overwhelmed our data sources. Compared to the structured data that we have as a data warehouse in companies, unstructured data has been flowing, and there is no limit to the volume of unstructured data that we are processing every day. So if you look at the landscape of NLP libraries in Python, there are quite a lot of libraries, and it's keep on adding. And we can see that we can use scikit-learn, NLTK, and also we can use some industrial level packages like Spacy, etc. So we can also use deep learning framework package like TensorFlow, PyTorch, which have API links to the language model like BERT, etc. So this is only a small list of libraries in NLP. So it's ever growing list, and there are also specific applications of specific libraries. For example, GenSum is specifically built for topic modeling, and you can find various algorithms in topic modeling. So moving on to the basic steps. So when we start to analyze unstructured data, text-based data, we should clean them first. So this cleaning process, our text processing process, involves a lot of smaller steps like removing the stop words, removing the punctuation, etc. So when you see a raw data, it consists of a lot of noises. So there will be smileys, there will be a lot of punctuations, there will be a lot of stop words, mentions, URLs, tags, etc. So all these elements does not provide any meaning to our analysis. Now we need to start by removing these unwanted elements from our text data. So this involves step-by-step process like stop word removal, URL, punctuation, etc. Now the packages which I had talked about provides the packages which I had talked about provides a lot of options for you to perform these operations. So you can download the list of stop words from packages like NLTK, which is going to have words like these things, like a, is, am, etc. So these words individually does not provide any meaning to our analysis, and we can safely remove them from our text. And if you feel that some of the words does provide any meaning, we can modify the list and try to remove these words from the overall corpus. So you can see that from NLTK provides support to stop words. Now this is not only limited to English, you can also see the stop words for Spanish, French, etc. Now if you take any language, whether it is an English, French or Spanish or a Hindi or any language, the outer appearance may differ, the pronunciation may differ, the way we structure it may differ, but ultimately they are all a same way. So they are all a mean to communicate. For example, a sentence in English, if you translate into a French, the structure will remain the same. So therefore, this is what is leveraged in NLP. So when you're building a language model, this structure is what is being leveraged. You need not have to know the language to perform NLP operations, whereas by knowing only one language, you can extrapolate to the other language because the underlying structure between the language will remain the same, whereas the outer appearance may differ. Now, taking that into consideration, you can see that even the stop words have very similar appearances. For example, this is an English-based stop words, and you can see that similar stop words for the Spanish and French, etc. Now, you can construct a simple code structure to remove these stop words from our corpus. So after removing the stop words, you would have a bit of clean data. Now, this is not enough. So there are also various other noises like punctuations and tags, etc., depending on the source of data from where you are extracting it from. So you can have a combination of an approach like using a package like NLTK, etc., where you can remove stop words, punctuation, etc. And also you can combine that with a well-known framework, which is the regular expression. By using regular expression also, you can remove some of the noises in the data. Now, this is the pre-processing step of NLP. After removing the stop words, there are also other noises, like you need to bring them to the stem of the words, like that is called a stem lemmatization and stemming. After that, you can perform the spell checks, correct the words accordingly, and then standardize the words. No, we had covered these topics like stop words. You can see that the words like the and in, etc. So when you remove them, it will get more cleaned and you will get a tokens of useful words in your corpus. After that, we need to typically perform operations called stemming or lemmatization, where we need to go to the root of the word. For example, there will be a slight modification to a word, but the ultimate meaning of the word remains the same. For example, this typically we can find in the verbs playing, plays, played. All three of them will signify a verb play. But when we are not cleaning them, when we are not bringing them to the stem of the word, this all three words will be considered as a different words. So therefore, there will be noise added to our tokenized words. Now, the machine learning algorithms will see all these three as a different words because it cannot understand the context behind it. So therefore, it is our responsibility to bring it to the stem of the word. For example, playing, plays, played can be brought to the stem of the word called play. Similarly, there are also verbs like am, are, is, which can be brought to the stem of the word be. Now, there are two approaches. One is simply cutting off the extra words. For example, here you can see ing, es, ed. Now, if you cut off this extra letters, you can get to the stem of the word. Now, this is quite easy, and this process is called as stemming. Now, we cannot do the same thing to a word, something like this, am, are, a, is. Now, we cannot go to the stem of the word by just removing some of the letters, characters. So that has a context behind it. Am or is coming from a verb be. To go to this particular verb, we need to use an approach which is called as lemmatization. Now, in an NLP process, these are optional steps. Okay. So you can use stemming or lemmatization, or you can use both. So it based on the context, and it also involves experimentations. After doing only stemming, you can see what is the output. After combining both stemming and lemmatization, what is the output. So this involves quite a level of stemming. Now, most of the packages, almost all NLP based packages supports these stemmings. For example, in NLTK, there are various algorithms that support stemming and lemmatization. The Porter stemmer, Lancaster stemmer, etc. So all these algorithms can be used to bring to the base of the word. For example, these are some of the examples where friend, friendship, friend, etc. has been brought to the stem of the word like friend. So this can be explored and experimented to get the best approach that is suitable for your NLP process. Followed by this, there are also other methods. And you can also leverage part of speech tagging. Now, this is also a branch of NLP processing where each word has a part of speech that is associated to it. For example, a word can be a noun, a word can be a verb, it can be a pronoun, etc. Now, this is an additional analysis that you can perform and categorize your text data into number of verbs, number of nouns, a number of pronouns. For example, you have a sentence one, which have a set of words. Now, from this, you can mine to understand how many nouns are there. Let's say 3 nouns, 2 verbs, and 1 pronoun. Now, this kind of part of speech tagging is very useful for building language models. Now, if you see the underlying logic behind this part of speech tagging, how they are actually identifying the noun and the verbs, if you see that that is all based on hidden Markov chain. So there is a hidden state between each one of the words in the sentences, and there is a probability distribution. So all these characteristic is being leveraged to understand which one is a noun, which one is a verb, etc. Now, after breaking down into these kind of segmentation, I mean, part of speech tagging, you can easily analyze and understand, okay, this sentence has a lot of nouns and this sentence has a lot of verbs, etc. So this will provide an additional information to you, to your NLP process. Now, if you see, let me show you a demonstration of that. So here, NLTK also provide a algorithm for part of speech tagging. Now this is a corpus, this set of sentences which I am sending to the algorithm. After that, you can see that each one of the words have been tagged into different taggings. Like one of them has been tagged into nouns, pronouns, verbs, etc. Now, this is a very important way to analyze your sentence. So after doing all these things, you can see and you can also create a nice display which one is considered as a person, which one is considered as an organization, etc. So other than part of tagging, if you extend that towards named entity recognition, you can actually identify which one is a country, which one is an organization, which one is talks about nouns, which one talks about date, etc. Now this can be used to analyze your paragraph. You can identify which particular word is a person, which particular word is an organization, and you can tag them, you can extract those particular keywords and build your own enriched tokens. So this is one of the application of your NLP, which is called part of speech tagging. And now, if you think that if you want to integrate with your NLP process, you can do that. This is also an optional step. When you're processing your text data, you can add one more step to add the tags to the each of the word tokens that you have. Now, these are some of the steps for you to break down your larger text into a smaller chunks and provide a context to that chunk. The next part, the most important part, is the vectorization. So what is vectorization? Now, so far you have processed the data, broken down into a single words and created a unique vocabulary list. Now the next step is to convert them into a numerical format or a vectors. So these vectors is what your machine learning models can understand. Now there are various ways to convert them. For example, you can use a simple frequency based vectorization method, or you can bring in some statistical analysis and create vectors based on TF-IDF method. We will look into that. Or you can use neural networks to bring in uh, a method called word embedding, which brings in context between the words. Now, each one of them have their own advantage and disadvantages. For example, a simple frequency based one doesn't have any context. It just counts the frequency of the words. For example, a car might have occurred 3 or 4 times. A truck might have occurred one time in a sentence. So it will just count the frequency of the occurrence of the words and create a vector. Whereas a TF-IDF will try to understand whether this particular word is important or not based on the occurrence. Whereas the word encoding will create a context between the words. Now, burger words may be very simple, but it doesn't provide any context-based information. But this will be useful when you are creating a quick implementation of a machine learning where latency has to be reduced. So it doesn't involve a lot of resource utilization. So therefore, you can use bag of words in the area where resource constraint is there. But if you want to understand the context between the words, we need to go to the advanced methods like word embedding, etc. Now, the language model, which we had talked about, BERT, Elmo, etc., XLNet, etc. So all of them will have a big matrix of word encodings at the back end. So this matrix is leveraged for language to language translation or creating any context from a particular paragraph. So this is what is behind all the language models, the word encodings. Now let us go into one by one. So bag of words is a very simple and straightforward method. So you can take a set of sentences in a corpus and try to create a unique vocabulary list. And after creating a unique vocabulary list, you can convert them into a frequency-based vectors. How much time a particular word has occurred in a sentence. Now this is the vector for first sentence. So this is the first sentence, and this is the vector for the first sentence. Now you can see here, after doing the pre-processing, we had removed all these stop words. And we have created a unique vocabulary list for the entire corpus. So this is your corpus. Now for this corpus, you have created a unique vocabulary list which has all these words. Now you can check that in the first sentence we have only the best and the times from the unique vocabulary. Now when we are converting them into vectors, this will be the form, which has the form like 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, because it has only these two words from the unique vocabulary list. Similarly, you can do it for the second sentence, which will be converted into 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0. So this is how you are converting a sentence into a vectors. After converting the vectors, now this is in a form which any machine learning model can understand it, right? So this is in a form of a numbers. For example, it's in the form of one hot encoding, which your machine learning model can easily understand and classify your sentence. After converting them into a bag of words, along with other features, you can easily classify whether this is a positive or this is a negative sentiment or this is a neutral sentiment. Just an example, if you have a longer sentence, you can break them into a unique words and then build a vectors and feed it to a classification model, which can classify whether it is a positive, negative, or a neutral. Now, this is a one approach, which is a straightforward and based on the frequency, but it loses a lot of informations like what is important. For example, if you're looking into a document which talks about only agriculture, let's say you have a corpus of document, 1,000 documents, and it's all talk about agriculture. Now the word agriculture will be termed as a most important because it will keep on occurring again and again in the document. But that doesn't provide any vital information. We know that the corpus is made of agriculture, and there is no point of having the word agriculture as an important. Now we need to remove these kind of repeatedly occurring words. So for that, bag of word is not a right approach. We need to go for other approaches. One of the other approach is TF-IDF vectorization. Now here, you are bringing in statistical analysis into your vectorization method and not just counting the frequency. So the TF-IDF is called as term frequency and inverse of document frequency. For example, let's say you are analyzing the documents, a corpus which made of documents which talks about car. Now the car is going to occur again and again in all the documents. Now there should be a mechanism to penalize this word which is keep on occurring again and again. Now that can be done by using term frequency and inverse of document frequency. Now this is the formula where T of terms is the number of times a term T appears in the document divided by the total number of terms in the document. For example, a word cat might have occurred 3 times in the document, but in the total occurrence may be 100 times. So that ratio will be 3 by 100, which is 0.03. But when you see the entire corpus, let's say there are millions of documents in the corpus. And in the millions of documents, the word cat has occurred only 1,000 times. Now, this clearly signifies that the word cat is a rare term that occurs in certain documents only. Therefore, there should be a mechanism to leverage this particular word cat. So that thing can be done using inverse of document frequency. Now, when we are taking a log, and this is a log, total number of documents by number of documents in which the term occurs. The total number of documents is 10 million, whereas it has occurred only 1000 times. That means it is a rare term. Now, when we are putting these values into this formula, we will get 0.03 into 4, which is equal to 0.12. Now, with the term frequency, we have very low score, but with the inverse of document frequency, we have a high score. Now, by multiplying this, the value is increased to a certain extent. Now, if you do an inverse of another word, let's say agriculture is keep on occurring. Let's say the word car is keep on occurring across the document. Now, this value will be nullified by the denominator. So therefore, this term will go down. So therefore, your ultimate score will also go down. Now, this is a statistical method to provide importance to a rare term in a particular document and penalize the terms that occurs across the documents. Now, this is another vectorization method. Now, compared to the previous one, this method provides us with some of the context. Now, still you do not know whether car, let's say a car and machinery has a context-based relationship. Now, still we do not know a relationship between the words. Now, using TF-IDF, we are brought in a statistical understanding and the importance of the word, but still the context-based information is not there between the words. So to do that, we can leverage another vectorization method, which is called as word embedding. Now, word embedding leverages a neural network at the backend. And with the word embedding, you can bring in the context. How a man is related to a woman, how a king is related to a queen, how walking is related to walk. So you can bring in a relationship, how a Spain, how a Madrid is the capital of Spain. So if you are creating a corpus which has these kind of relationship, which talks about these kind of relationship, let's say you have a corpus which have a sentence like the Madrid is the capital of the Spain. Similarly, you have another sentence which talks about Rome is the capital of Italy. Now, when you are feeding this into a neural network, which is a shallow neural network, it creates word embeddings which has relationship between these two words. So that is leveraged in the word embeddings. Now, this is coming from a neural network. For example, in a neural network, we have input nodes. There will be hidden layers followed by output nodes. The thing we are mostly concerned about, what we are sending it into the input node and some process happen and what is coming out of the output nodes. So this process happen, the space where the process happen is typically considered as a latent space or a black box. We know the structure and what kind of calculation happens, but we don't care about what is the values in each of the hidden layers. Now, if we try to extract this hidden layers, the values inside these hidden layers, those values will talk about the patterns and the interrelationship between the patterns. Now, that is what is leveraged in the word embeddings. So in the word embeddings, you have a huge matrix, which is about Earth matrix, which talks about relationship between one word to other word in terms of these hidden layer values. Now, this is another vectorization method. So this brings in the context, a relationship between the words which is more powerful compared to other vectorization methods. The downside is that it consumes a lot of resources. So resource utilization is high compared to the other vectorization methods. Now these are the word embeddings, and so we have a case study which goes step by step on each of these uh, methods, vectorization methods. For example, I will walk you through on a case study which is on sentiment analysis, where the words, the larger text has been broken down into word tokens, and each of these methods are leveraged. A model is built over the top of Baga words, a model is built over the top of TF-IDF, and also a model is built over the top of word embeddings. We can see how it has been done. Now, before that, let's look into one of the application of these NLP. So we are going into uh, an area which is called as unsupervised learning. Now, the topic modeling is an unsupervised learning which leverages statistical model for discovering abstract topics that is hidden inside a paragraph. Now, when you take any type of a corpus or a document, you have a word distribution, topic distributions. Each word is associated with the topic that is based on the hidden distributions. Now, that is what is leveraged in the topic modeling. For example, the latent derelict allocation is a topic modeling technique where we assume a distribution is hidden inside your corpus. So initial distribution is coming from the prior. So this is also based on a concept of Bayesian statistic, Bayesian probability, where a prior is considered. So each one of the words inside your paragraph has a prior value. And after sending this into an LDA process, these prior values has been modified based on the Bayesian probability theories, and you will get the distribution which follows a multivariate distribution called as Dirichlet distribution. So this is a multivariate distribution where multiple words and the topic distribution are analyzed. Now, each one of the words will be associated with a topic, and what probability of the association, which what we need to identify. After we identify the probability of association, the LDA algorithms generates a list of topics, a list of words for a particular topic. For example, you are sending a corpus of uh, documents into an LDA algorithm. After pre-processing those documents, you're sending that to an LDA algorithm. Now, this LDA algorithm will understand the distribution of the words in the topic, and after that, it generates new words from that current word, a set of new words. For example, word 1, word 2, word 3 will be generated. And if you analyze these words, you can understand and derive a topic from these words. Now, this is the generative model, and it falls under the category of unsupervised learning. Now, let us see the code walkthrough for all the topics that we have covered so far. Now, before that, let me show you the list of pre-processing steps that we can perform. For example, let's say you're trying to extract information from the web page. Now, for that, you can use packages like Beautiful Soup, etc., and extract the information like Amazon reviews, product reviews, or feedbacks from a particular page, etc., and then collate them into a document or a data frame which has the heading, an article, what kind of a category it falls into. Now, this is a raw data. The next step for us is to clean the data. For cleaning the data, we can follow a lot of pre-processing steps like removal of HTML tags, removal of symbols like these ones, which you can see in other languages where you will have accented characters. and then expand the contraction. For example, we have various terms which need to be expanded. For example, you can see you all. You can commonly see this in sentences in Twitters or etc. social media, where you will see you all, can't, etc. I didn't, etc. Now this will be very difficult to process it without expanding it. So you can do an expansion of the contraction. Then now you can see that you all cannot is expanded. The next step can be your removal of special characters, text lemmatization, text stemming, removing the stop words, etc. Now you can bring all these functions into a one set of code and normalize your corpus. After normalization, you will get the clean word tokens, which can be used to convert into a vectors. Now these are some of the steps you can perform. Now all these steps are optional, so you can design your own pre-processing and cleaning steps. For example, if you're working on documents which talks about chemical symbols, the context for cleaning those data is different compared to the uh, doc, text data that is extracted from social media. So context by context, we need to change the pre-processing steps. Now after this, we had seen POS tagging also. Now we will see an LDA walkthrough. Now LDA is an algorithm which works at the top of um, a vectorization, vectors. So to convert a paragraph into a vectors, you need to pass through all these NLP process. You need to clean the words, convert them into tokens, and then convert them into vectors, and then pass it into an LDA. So for that, you can design your own pre-processing steps that involves removing the stop words, lemmatization, stemming, etc. After you have done all these steps, you can convert them into a TF-IDF or a bag of words. So here in this particular notebook, I have sent the words which is converted into a bag of word vectors and pass it into an LDA and see the performance. And similarly, the same set of word tokens converted into a TF-IDF and then pass it into your LDA algorithms. So there is a slight performance improvement when compared to an LDA which is working on the bag of words compared to an LDA which is working on the top of TF-IDF. Now LDA implementation is quite simple. For example, in Gensem is a package for topic modeling. From the models you can implement, you can extract LDA and send your data. So that is the tokenized words, vectors, and the number of topics. So similar to k-mean clustering or any other clustering methods, we have to provide the number of topics. So this is a quite tricky situation because you do not know what is the optimal number of topics. If you increase the number of topics, then all the smaller chunks of words will be created into a separate topics that is not required for our analysis. But if you provide a less number of topics, the larger chunk will be categorized into one single topic. That is not also a favorable result. So therefore you need to find a balance between that. So you can approach in a similar fashion like what we have done in k-mean clustering for identifying the optimal k, and or you can follow a manual experimental approach. So here you can provide the number of topics and then send it into an LDA model, and you can generate the words after analyzing. So what it actually does is that, so you have vectors. So vectors of your corpus has been sent into an LDA. Now LDA was analyze the different distribution of each one of the words and the topic associated and creates a document topic and a word topic matrix. So it creates a two matrix, which is a document topic and the word topic matrix. Now this information, so this distribution is stored under, it's under the LDA algorithm. So it understands these distributions. After understanding these distributions, when you provide the number of topics, let's say you're providing 3 is the optimal number of topics you want, then it generates 3 set of words. So there will be one set of words and another set of words, another set of words. All these words will be interrelated to each other. So there will be a context between the words. For example, you can see kill, phase, Iraq, plan, say, etc. So there is some kind of a context between these words. Similarly, there will be a context between these words. So all these informations will be generated. All these words will be generated. So that's why it's called as a generative model. It's not a discriminative model. So it generates from the distribution which it has learned. Okay, so that's what LDA does at the back end. Now there are also various other unsupervised models for actually working on the topic generation. For example, you can also use restricted Boltzmann mission for generating topics. So it involves, so it has a structure similar to your neural network. For example, so it has input nodes and a hidden layer. So there is a connection between them. There is no connection between the hidden nodes. So this is the hidden node. So this layer is a hidden layer and this layer is an input layer. Now there is a connection between the input layer and the hidden layer nodes, but there is no connection between the nodes and the hidden layer. That's why it's called as restricted Boltzmann mission. So Boltzmann mission does not have an output layer. So what is the use of this? So when a word is sent, the vectors is sent between these nodes, you can actually understand the distribution, the probability distribution of the words. How often a word 1 occurs with the context of the word 2. How often the word 2 will occurs in the context of the word 3. So this probability distribution can be understood from the restricted Boltzmann mission. So this also involves hidden Markov chain. So there is a hidden state between each one of the word transition. That hidden state is also discovered. Now this information can be leveraged to create topics like this. So it won't create a topic for you. It won't say that this is a topic based on politics, or it won't say that it is a topic based on agriculture or something. But it generates a set of words for you. For example, these one. When you analyze these words, you can understand that they are interrelated between each other and create a topic for yourself. Now this topic 0 have interrelated words and the numbers are here. These are probability distributions. And from this word distribution, you can actually identify what it is actually talking about. Now, these are some of the, there are also other methods like LSA, so latent semantic analysis, etc. But widely used ones are like LDA, RBM based unsupervised model for breaking down your text into, paragraph into different topics. Now this is this has a lot of applications. For example, a discriminative model needs a lot of corpus and the labels for it. For example, so this is a sentence, so it has a positive sentiment. This is a sentence, it has a negative sentiment. So you need to have a sentence and the sentiment pair. So you need to have a label for a discriminative models. But if you're using a topic model, and let's say you are extracting Twitter feeds from social media, which is going to have millions of records or even billions of records. Now we cannot label them each one of the sentence into positive, negative, and then identify which one of the sentence is positive or not. Now, generally, you want to mine your Twitter data to identify what are they talking about, what is the topic the people are talking about current. So those kind of topic generation can come from the models like LDA. So the LDA can generate various topics for you. Okay, so this is good for mining a huge volumes of the data, and it has a lot of applications in the unstructured space. Okay, and finally, we will look into how we can use a generative model. Let's say we were talking about a sentiment analysis. Now, it's a fairly very straightforward and simple method. So you can use any type of a model. For example, you can use as a support vector mission for classifying your sentence, whether it's going to have a high rating or a low rating. Now, what are the steps involved? So you need to collect the data. You need to pre-process it, that is, clean the data and convert it into a tokens. So after converting to the tokens, you are cleaning the data, and then you're creating a unique vocabulary. So after creating unique vocabulary, you're passing into a vectorization method. So you can use bag of words or TF-IDF or even word embeddings. So after creating a vectors, then you can pass it into your ML algorithm, which is based on the historical data. And after training your ML algorithm, it can actually predict whether it is a positive or a negative or a neutral sentiment. So that is the workflow when you're constructing these kind of sentiment analysis models. So here is a corpus, which has been broken down and cleaned using various cleaning methods, pre-processing methods. And after that, you've created a cleaned data. Now this cleaned tokens. So this is a raw tokens, and this is a clean tokens. Now this cleaned tokens is being sent into various vectorization methods. For example, here we are using vectorization methods of TF-IDF. Now you can send this particular uh, cleaned tokens into the vectorization method. Now after that, you will get vectors, which is based on TF-IDF, which we had talked about earlier. Now, after converting them into a TF-IDF, you can pass it into any model, like for example, Nibase, and then fit the model and then use it for predictions. Now, your prediction efficiency is all depend upon how you pre-processing the steps. Okay, so the pre-processing is very important in um, text processing. I mean, in NLP-based machine learning models. Now, these are some of the applications. So these are some of the case studies on the NLP topics that we want to cover. And moving on, in the next session, so we will talk about advanced language models, like how ULM fit or a BERT model works, on what is an underlying framework and how we can implement this.